ooh, there's a sadness. What is this? And I'm looking. And all of a sudden I see these things shooting off, and I'm like, what is that on the earth? And as I'm focusing, I'm like, oh my God, it's flame. I saw human souls. They were so beautiful, powerful. It was so hard to describe. There really isn't a name of a color, but it was like this silvery, white, golden light woven through with like mercury, consistency of mercury, the viscousness, but yet transparent. And they're all lifting off everywhere off the planet, unscathed from the flames, unharmed. With ease, lifting off, and I'm watching them. I'm like, oh my God, Sasa, and I'm watching them. They're all coming up, and they're coming close to us, and they go in behind us on our left into heaven. And all of a sudden, I'm watching this, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is great. Okay, thank God. You know, I knew my family was part of that, and I was relieved. And all of a sudden, I felt that sadness one more time, and this time I could barely handle the magnitude of the sadness. And I said to God, oh wow, it's coming from you. God, why are you sad? What's wrong? Look, see? They're okay. Everything's okay. No one's hurt. Right? So we should be happy and relieved. Told me to look again, and I look again, and I've got the glasses on, remember? And I'm focusing, and this time I'm going past the flames, and I'm really focusing on the core of the earth there. And I see the souls that couldn't lift off. Do you know why they couldn't lift off? Because their light was not on. Do you remember the light, the rippling, the lesson I had, right? The rock, the vehicle, a rock? We choose if we want that light to shine or not. But the light was the fuel, the connection that lifted them off, that love connection, right? And I looked at him, I'm like, oh my God, help the souls. They're you know, they can't lift off. God, they're defected, help. God looks at me and he says, Erica, with the gift of life, hand in hand, I give free will. And I said, God, don't you love them too? I didn't get it, right? That's me. I'm like, don't you love them too? Can't you do anything? And he explained to me, he loves not some of us, okay, but each and every one of us, his children, so much that what free will is giving us the gift to be able to choose if we want to receive that love or not, connection. He doesn't force it. And if you're a parent, and that's what I thought, is I thought about my children and how much I love them more than anything. I would die for them. But at some point, you know, now I'm almost an empty nester and they're grown. The hardest thing has been to let them go. But you know what? I love them so much that they need to be able to try. That's how much God loves us. It's amazing. I didn't really understand until that moment. He doesn't force us. But here's the interesting part. I'm going to speed a little bit fast, but we get to the end of that, and I'm watching all the very last of the souls. There's so many of them going in. And when that was finished, it was time for me to finally be able to turn around and to go into heaven, and I was so excited. I couldn't wait. It was just like, okay, I'm so ready. You know, school's been awesome and all that, but I'm ready to go in and be with everyone. And as God and I turned around together, and I looked at heaven, and heaven made the size of earth look like a speck of dust. It was so magnificent. And heaven was a planet. It was gold, and it was so alive. It was so huge. It was so wonderful. And I remember just like feeling like I was going to run this race, and I was just going in like it, you know, I was just like, I'm ready, I'm going to go. Grew up, we didn't have foreign language, so I didn't know a foreign language, but guess what? I totally knew every foreign language there was. I understood every conversation, and in that moment there was one commonality. Does anybody want to know what it was of all the conversations that were going on? Okay, there was no love present. So there was everything from hatred, anger, self-loathing, gossip, slander, sadness that's overwhelming, just every emotion you can imagine where love isn't present, happening at once. And as soon as I had this realization, the light in me turned on, because I knew where I was. I was at the edge of hell. And all of a sudden, it was all dark, right? And I'm the only one my light's on? Oh yeah, well they all saw that, of course. And when my light went on, I could see them. And I was just barely hovering, and they could reach me. And they started pulling. I could feel each one of their fingers all over every inch of my body, and they were pulling me down. They wanted the light. And as they were pulling me down, it was completely draining my life force out of my body. And I was terrified. I was terrified because I knew just even more of a second of feeling that, I would have no energy to even get out of the situation. I panicked, and the only thing I could think was to cry out to God, help me, I love you. That was it. You know what that did? It re-established that connection that I'm talking about. That's all it took, that desire to have that love connection. And all of a sudden, all of the hands started reluctantly lifting off of me, and it felt like it took forever. And I started raising up when the very last finger left my body, high enough so that they couldn't reach me. And I start floating back out of that place slowly. And as I'm leaving that place, I had a mix of emotions. I was completely relieved and thankful to God. But here's me at the same time. I'm always hoping everybody's okay and everything. I'm like, God, can't we help them too? Because I could feel their hearts. And I knew they weren't bad people, right? And God said to me, Erica, again, it's free will. Do you know what God told me? This was so interesting to me because I was not raised to believe this. I was raised to believe that when you died, you were judged by God. And if you were a sinner, you went to hell. So I knew I should be in hell, right? This didn't make sense. I just got out of there. I don't know. And everything I had just learned, right, in heaven. And now God's saying free will. And what God told me was, do you know how those people got there? Well, yeah, you put them there, God, right? You put them there. They were sinners. No. It's not what I was told. You guys know how they got there? Anybody? Yes, they did. So choosing to not have that connection, just as unique as our fingerprints, our blueprints, right, was different for everyone. There's different reasons why those people chose not to have that connection. But here's the most amazing part. I was raised to believe that once you died, that was it. You had until then. And if you didn't make that decision, to choose God, that was the expiration. That was it. Too bad. But God told me that those people had the ability to get out anytime. But do you know how they had to get out? Remember when I wanted to take them, I'm like, let them follow the light. Let me help them, please. And he said I couldn't do it as much as I cared. See, with that gift of life, the very special thing and why you're so valuable, he gives not some of us, right, but each of us the ability. No one can make that decision for you but you. But you have to choose to want to have that connection. You have to do the work. No one can do it for you. So each one of those people that were there, they had to choose to have that connection. It was as simple as desiring that love with God. And they could get out at any time. There was no expiration. We were eternal beings. There was no time. Time did not exist like it does here. So I was really sad, but at the same time I had a lot of peace because I finally understood. I understood the way it is, And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. I finally get back to the tunnel, and I'm going down the tunnel again. I was so drained from them sucking the life force out of me that I remember just wanting to just rest for a second and pause. What happened was that connection with God again became